Hi, Jim here, and you're listening to the Honest Filmmaker podcast, career advice from people in the business. This week, I'm talking to stunt performer Adam Basil. Adam's been in blockbuster movies like Fast X, Mission Impossible Fallout, James Bond film No Time to Die, Justice League, and Wonder Woman. He was also Tom Hardy's stunt double on both Venom films and appeared as the Bloater in HBO's Last of Us. I talked to Adam about how he got started in the industry, his tips for new stunt performers just starting out, and of course, we talked about what it was like working on some of those massive productions. Enjoy. So I want to start by asking you, how did you get into the industry?
So I started as an actor who couldn't pay his rent. I was doing theatre, I was doing profit share theatre and things like that. And you get paid at the end of it, and your share of the profit was not enough to pay for your petrol.
Yeah.
So I was doing that around, East Anglia and places like that. So I was doing that, and then later on, I heard there was in 2011 they were making the film, a Tom Cruise film called The Edge of Tomorrow, but I think they changed the name to Live, Die, Repeat.
Yeah.
Later on, and so they needed people to wear these exosuits, and they've made the exosuits for sort of actors with like physical presence. So they're all built for kind of people like 6'4", and these things, I don't know if you've seen the movie, but they're quite substantial. They have their own shock systems on them. You're screwed into them. But if you weren't 6'4", you ended up huddled over, carrying your own weight. They were awful. So, but anyway, they sort of exhausted a lot of people, and were looking for people. So, I heard about this, and that's where I got into it. And then I started working on that project, and that kind of went on to other things. And I became part of the British Stunt Register. So I qualified as a stuntman because got these 6 qualifications that you need in martial art. I did rally driving, high diving, scuba diving, mountaineering, and I always remember 5 and not 6, but it'll come back to me. So a range of skills, and then you apply to equity to go forward to the panel, and then they pick the people, and then you start again. Then it's like, okay, you're part of it. You can then start communicating with stunt coordinators, and then you kind of start from the level up again of, hello, my name's Adam. I've just got into the Stunt Register. This is my page. This is my CV. And straight away, I got people. My first day on there, I got called in to go into some big projects, and was chucked straight deep end, rather scarily. Yeah, so that was it really, and then just built from there.
Wowzers. Because I was going to ask about those skills, because I wasn't sure if that was still a thing, but it is. You've got to have all of those skills to be on that register. And that's a UK register, is it? Or is that like an international thing?
It's UK only, yeah. So we're lucky. Canada has a stunt register. America doesn't, and it's a little bit more of a you have to prove yourself on a different basis. So we're very lucky that it gives everybody the opportunity in the UK. If you qualify, then you can be considered. Whereas if the other ones, you just have to kind of get in there somehow.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky.
And are there any particular skills a stunt performer has that are more desirable than others, if you're good at something particular? Or
yeah, I think the guys do really well. The kind of these wushu guys do very well. Like high levels of gymnastics do really well. But also anyone we've got people that have come out of Moscow, Cirque du Soleil, people that have come through, or Marines have come through from that. So you've got people that are very high levels in each area, very useful. But also anyone who's a bit different. So it's kind of like if you're really tall or you're really small, or that's something that sets you apart, because there's a lot of guys who are very high level that are already out there. My niche was like just bigger.
Yeah,
wasn't the best, but I wasn't acrobatic, but I was bigger than a lot of other people, so it kind of put me into smaller, group of people.
Yeah, it was funny. I was going to ask that, because how tall are you?
I'm 6'4" on a good day when the moon is high.
6'4" on a good day, and I wondered if that had been a disadvantage, but it sounds like it had been a way into certain roles you might not have been up for.
Totally, yeah. You got me considered for Beauty and the Beast, to be the body of the beast, the monster, Venom, and Baloo in Jungle Book, The Last of Us, which I just did, and characters. So you don't always get those roles where you're, there'll be a call on a movie and say like Avengers, and they'll bring in 60 stunt guys, but they want people that are like 5'8" to 6 foot or something, so they can be formulaic soldiers. You won't get those roles, but you might be this sort of general at the door who
Mhm.
has a bit of dialogue and gets thrown out of a window or something. So there'll be, the roles can be more interesting, but yeah, it's different.
Yeah. And just for people who aren't in this industry, how does the pay work? Do you get a standard fee? Do you get more money if you do more dangerous things? How's that work?
Yeah, so we all have TV contracts, different film contracts. They all have a different thing for Netflix, but then we have an equity standard minimum. So we're really lucky in that the equity and the stunt committees have worked really hard to do that. But on top of that, you would get, for example, if you did a stair fall, the stunt coordinator would say, well, you're going to have to go down the stairs backwards. It's 25 steps. It's concrete. You're wearing Bermuda shorts and a short sleeve shirt, so there's hardly any protection. Then you might get paid X amount fee per take.
Hmm.
So it varies, but they'll make an assessment on that. So every take you might get, and that's actually a stunt I did, falling
Hmm.
backwards, doubling Greg Davies on some steps in Ealing Hospital, and I got paid per take. So
Wowzers.
yeah. So, but they're yeah. So the more money, the amount of money represents the danger.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Um, so then when you started out, were you earning enough to live on, or were you still sort of ducking and diving and kind of making things happen?
Yeah, I think let me just think about it. I was pretty lucky. I was straight into it. And I was soon able to go kind of full
Mm.
time relatively quickly. Um, and that's to say because I had a niche. So any niche helps, and I was able to get in and do a really good job. Some people like the work you did. Some people will never use you again. And that's what it's like when you're trying to figure out how it all works. Because the Stunt Register doesn't necessarily teach you. It teaches you a group of skills, but doesn't
Yeah.
teach you to negotiate the other things around being a stunt performer on movies on TV.
Yeah, and then what would you say? So apart from all those the fighting and the cars and the horses and all that stuff, what personal attributes do you think you need to succeed in that industry?
I think you need to be resilient. You need to be. You need to be. I mean, I sort of joked before that our job is we're basically paid to not complain.
Mm.
So I'll be under a lot of duress. I'll be hot. I won't have any air. I could be in a lot of pain. You choose your moments because if you are in a lot of pain, you should say, "Can I just change these shoes, or is it possible to do this?" It's kind of a negotiation, but sometimes that's just the job.
Mm.
If you have to, I was just on a film. I was just on Mission Impossible recently. I don't think I mind me saying, and I had to dive through a window, smash through a window, smash through a window. I mean, there was no window in it because we were still rehearsing, but every time, boom, hits. But you're like, yeah, let's go. That wasn't particularly bad actually. It's injury, but if you're wearing like a creature suit or something, you've got a
Mm.
huge head on you. You've got layers and layers of fur. You've got 5 servos. One controls the ears, one controls the nose, one controls the smile, and all you can hear is and you're hot and it's dripping into your eyes. And when they say to you, "Can you do another one? Are you okay?" You're just like, "Yeah, cool, brilliant, no problem, no problem." That's what I think you're paid to do. Just
Yes,
not go,
yes,
"Well, actually, my back is a bit sore. Can I?" Which is what normal people would probably say. And good for them. Do it. Do if you're in that position to say it, do say something. Because
yes.
production companies won't stop for you.
Yes. Oh, that's interesting. And talking of those sorts of roles you've done, because you've done a bit of a mixture. So there's a few that really stick out. The most recent one that really sticks out is the bloater in The Last of Us. Now that I'm assuming that's just like a full suit, is it? Like a big rubber suit. How on earth do you maneuver? Because there's all explosions going off and all sorts. What are you completely blind? How did it work?
So yeah, the suit you nailed it. That suit was different. It wasn't like 7 hours of prosthetics or anything like that. You could get the whole thing on within an hour. Barry
Mhm.
Gowers and his team are the best, incredible. But the team, the legs go on, the legs go on, the body goes on, the arms go on. They put the head on last. The eyes can be removed, so you can pop out the eyes. HBO having the endless amounts of money that they do and having the skills that they do, they could then put the eyes on later. So
Mhm.
unless the camera was right on me, we'd ask every time, "Do you need the eyes in? Do you need the eyes in?" Because when the eyes are clipped in, then all I can see is a small gap, and often
Mhm.
that would be the case. I'd come onto set, we put the thing in, I'd have to climb out of the ground, Then I'd have to smash one guy, and it's a stunt guy on a wire. He'd fly over to the left into a fence. I had to smash another guy who's been propelled into what we call a gooch, which just double ends him, flips him up. And then there'd be another guy I had to smash. Then I had to run across the thing, all with limited visibility. So, yeah, and you'd always say to them, look, just to let you know, so it's clear in filming, just to let you know, as soon as these eyes go in, I won't be able to hear what you see or hear what you're saying. They're like, yeah, no problem. Get them on, get them on. And then they put them on. They go, right, Adam, what we want you to do is we want to run across, smash that guy, do this. And he's like, okay, sure. It's good to be clear,
God.
but they won't listen.
Yeah, and is that, because so you were there for it, did it all. Did it live up to what you thought it was going to be? Did it surprise you at all? You actually saw the sequence cut together?
It did. So much of that production surprised me. So much of that production, because they started prepping for it really early, which is very unusual. So we started prepping for it in January, February. I was brought in for body scans. And then I think we shot it in September. So they kind of locked me down for this, the 1/4 of the TV show. So we don't know when it is, but we're going to book from here to here. They started building the creature, and then eventually we was shot in Calgary in Canada. So we went over, they were already there, the team was already there, because they were doing all the other the clickers and all the other creatures. So but the final product, the final shoot, what they finished with in the TV show looked great. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really good. And what surprised me was how much traction the character got, because Jim, I've done a lot of different characters, and people generally are kind of interested, but it's never got that kind of momentum where you're getting contacted by, ABC News wanted to do film TV with me, and Entertainment Weekly and Men's Health and all this stuff. What is going on? Doing radio interviews in New Zealand. It's just crazy.
What a character to be. Do you know what I mean? But you're going to be eating off of that conventions, aren't you? Surely, when you've retired from stuntman, that'll be what your life will just be, traveling around.
Yeah. You know what the thing? Yeah, well, and I have done some of those. You know what, the conventions are? They're great place. They're really great. But the thing is, with conventions now, people like Jason Momoa do them.
Yeah.
So you've got stiff competition, haven't you? It used to be like Doctor Who and Sylvester McCoy and these lovely people, and then all of a sudden you've got the whole cast of the latest Avengers movie there. You're kind of sitting there with your pen, and people just walking past you.
Oh God.
I was Bloater.
Bloater. It's a good character. It's an awesome character, and it's such a visceral, kind of horrific character as well. It's brilliant. The other one, obviously, I've got to mention, is a Death Trooper in Rogue One.
Yeah.
So obviously that was second Star Wars film to be made, of the new suite of Star Wars films. One of my favorite, if not the favorite Star Wars film. What was that like, putting that armor on and being in something so different to what we'd seen before?
The thing is with any kind of the Death Troopers are, as we know, Stormtroopers had problems shooting things.
Yeah,
they were almost conscientious objectors in their accuracy, right? They just can't kill things, right? So this one, for the first time, we see a Death Trooper. Death Troopers like your SAS, your Navy SEAL. They're all 6'4". They're all just mean. When they turn up, everyone's like, oh dear, the Death Troopers are here, but they know how to shoot. So the thing about the Death Trooper is it's even more uncomfortable than being a Stormtrooper. There's more stuff on it. You can't sit down. They're very the opposite of what you would think. You think there's an elite Stormtrooper, that actually in reality you can't even sit down or go to the toilet on your own. So and the things fly off the whole time, but they look great. So that particular scene, we had to come off a drop ship, but we couldn't look down because Death Troopers don't look down because it's a sign of weakness. Why would you look down on the ground, right? So we had to walk off, step off, boom, like that, and then so step down, and then keeping our body up and our eyes forward, and then march forward into water without really looking. So as soon as you actually, in reality, if you do that ever, you generally fall over because it smashes you. You'll completely throws your balance up. So all these rock hard Death Troopers were just falling over. So eventually, once we did get a take where we all managed to stand, then you're running across the water, right? Just shooting, and it looks great. The thing is, how do you know a real? If you ever come across someone offers to sell you a real stormtrooper mask or helmet, or a real death trooper helmet, how do you know the real ones between ones you buy in a shop? The real ones are very unsafe. They churn them out. They would never pass any sort of CE safety certificate. They got screws sticking out. They missed up within 15 seconds. They're missing up. We tried everything, spraying them, doing all the scuba dive. So by the time you make it across the water, 10 feet, you're running blindly now. So people are tripping over dead stormtroopers. People are, and eventually we get to the side, and now we've made it, right? We've done this for days. This shot, how they work on these movies. It's days, days and days and days. So eventually we get to the thing, and then there's another scene with the actors, some of the cast. And I remember my character's now dead after this big explosion. I'm laying there. It's 6 or 7 a.m. when we start this scene. I'm already laying there. I just fell asleep. I completely fell asleep. I woke up, I don't know, 4 hours later, surrounded by dummy dead stormtroopers going, where is everybody? So I stood up, I take my helmet off. They'd moved on, they'd changed location. So I was like, oh my God, I'm in so much trouble. I took my helmet, I ran around the side, and I rejoined them, and nobody noticed. So yeah, I got away with it.
Nice. And so you've been on a lot of films with big famous people on. Do you get starstruck ever? Who's like who stands out for you? Someone you've met and you've been like, wow.
Yeah, but there's certain people. I mean, we generally leave them alone. But as I've got more into it, or longer in the tooth, I was talking about it the other day, is you try and find an excuse to talk to them.
Yeah.
So we do. My friend Dave, who's here, he's a visual effects artist on Ready Player One, and we were talking about it the other day when Steven Spielberg. He's a great film, obviously a legend. We all grew up watching Steven Spielberg. So I was trying to find an excuse to just at least if I could just say hello to him, and I did. Hello, how's it going? Oh, you're my stunt guys, are you? You're like, yeah, we're your stunt guys. Good work, guys. Good work. You're like, so there's a lot of people I would like to work with, but there's a lot of people I would like to. I'd love to meet Jack Nicholson, or the real legends. Yeah.
Yeah, but I suppose you've got to just keep your head down, haven't you, and get on with it. And no one wants to be bothered while they're filming, even though it must be hard sometimes when you meet those iconic people to keep you cool.
Because they're generally Americans, and if they're filming in England, there's always a really good inn, and that inn is something British people are very good talking about. It's the weather.
Yeah.
So how you finding the weather? Oh God, it's shitty, isn't it? I know, it's terrible, isn't it? Like, yes, I've spoken to Jason Momoa. Yes, I've spoken to someone else. So yeah.
That's a good tip. What's the weirdest job you've had?
They're all, I mean, I remember there's these commercials I did, and I remember I got a call to do this commercial, and they said, Adam, it's a Lotus commercial. You're going to be flying to South Africa. I was like, great. I said, brilliant. I said, hang on a second. Lotus don't really do commercials. They do magazines. And I said, I can't fit in a Lotus because I've tried. I'd love to own a Lotus. They're tiny. So they said, no, Adam, it's not Lotus cars, it's Lotus toilet roll. They're like, oh, so, okay. So Lotus toilet roll, and you're going to be playing like a Gruffalo, but we call him a Gruffano for legal purposes. So basically, it looks exactly like a Gruffalo, but he's not got any horns. But yeah, so then I found myself, next thing I found myself is in South Africa, not a bad place to find yourself, dressed as a large Gruffano, running around the wilderness, sweating with a blue face because it was so hot. That's pretty
nice. And the other role I was thinking of, which is in contrast to your Bloater one, was Doctor Strange, where you're doing Rentrath, the big Minotaur thing running through. I've seen that everyone's seen it in the making of, and you must have felt like naked in that motion capture suit. You've got no protection in that, and yet you're running through explosions. What's that like?
That is real. I mean, that's someone actually running for their life in that moment. Yeah, there's you're in it. You're right in the back. You're the furthest, so you're deepest into where the detonators are. They're going to completely destroy the set. So it was $250,000 just for the explosives and the damage to the set. It was $250,000 a take, right? So not including everyone's time and blah blah blah. So also you got 5 of my friends, stunt guys, are on wires. So they're all getting ready to be detonated as well, which is going off my timing. So I don't want to mess it up because they're going to have to do the stunt again. So they're getting jerked 20 feet. He's getting into a wall. So I've got all that added tension of, okay, I need to be here by here, here by here. And then I've also got the other, don't mess up because they can't, they can do maybe 1 or 2 takes of this. Also, if any of the stunt guys do go into my legs, it's not great for them. It's definitely not good for me. And you've got the explosives. So, and we don't, in what we do, right? There's no real rehearsal time. There's no real, you're art for sure. But in that sense, like, Adam, we're going to start you here. We're going to come back. That would never really been rehearsed, right? We spoke about it on the day, and we went for it. I knew that guy was going there, and that guy was doing that, and we did. I think we did 2 takes of the whole thing. It was, it was incredible. It was incredible. To be in the thick of that explosion was really. All you can see is fire and rubble and bodies as you sort of evade them in a kind of rugby-esque style, as you're kind of ducking around one guy. Is it one of my favorite ones I've done?
Yeah, I was going to say, and also, I guess must be rare for you to see footage of yourself, you in a stunt, and that because it's just you in that motion capture suit. I can actually see you and laugh at you jumping over bodies and running for your life in that shot, whereas normally it's kind of, you see it after the visual effects have had time with it, and it's not you. But yeah, that's really, really awesome scene. You can tell they put a lot of time into that. And the other one I was going to ask you about was Aladdin. So what was your role on that? How did that work?
So what they did was, Will Smith's a pretty in shape guy, but he wasn't the body type they wanted for the Genie. So they took scans of my body. They blue dotted me, and then that's Aladdin's body became my body became the Genie's body. So
right, okay.
So it's effectively based on my body. I'm not actually 57 feet tall and blue, but that's how it worked. I've had it done before in other films. On Wonder Woman, they did the same thing. They just used a body that they like, and there was other parts where I had to carry some of the characters as the Genie. But that's essentially it. They just grabbed my body and then manipulated it to be the character they wanted. Yeah.
And do you recognize your body when you're watching it or not?
I mean, I guess so, a bit. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, he's quite. Yeah, a bit. So I'd like to say so. I mean, he's pretty ripped, wasn't he?
So I was going to ask you about injuries. So you mentioned injuries earlier.
Yeah.
That's obviously comes with the job. How much of a big thing is that for you? How regularly do you actually get injured? And have you got long lasting injuries you have to look after?
So the worst injury, I've had a few injuries, nothing too bad. I did on Doctor Strange. Actually, at the end of that sequence, I detached my bicep and I smashed my collarbone. So that was the worst injury I've had. I've had a few other things. Aquaman, I tore my groin when I did a dead man. When you're attached to the wall, you just have to run till you go into tension. I've currently got an injury from bowling. There you go. Right. Don't go bowling. Yeah, and that's a real niggly bicep thing. So so stunts is quite dangerous, but apparently bowling is potentially life ending. So be careful out there.
Who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought it? And just to finish up. So, say I'm a first-time director, making my first feature film. I'm working with stunt people. What would be your advice for me in how to communicate with them? What tips can you give me?
I'm desperately trying to not say any jokes and be PC, but I would say kind of ask them, let them get on with it. What do you guys think? What have you decided with this shot? And then decide how. And then even say, well, if you're unsure, you can even, they'll have a good idea how it could be shot as well. So, and that's what you have. It's like you have your main director, you have main unit, and you have a second unit, and the second unit director is usually a stunt of a stunt background. and they know exactly the best way to shoot the action. And then of course, so for example, we'll rehearse it, we'll present the director with a finished previs, and he'll sign off on it. Not necessarily, he might say, no, I don't like that, I don't like the fight, I don't like the angle, do it again. Or he might be like, yeah, love it, guys. So I think it's like trusting in their knowledge, because this is all they do. Whereas the director's doing the whole, he's picking the music, he's picking the location with his team. He's picked the whole vision of the movie, but these guys are specifically, their vision is the action. So it's always good to just go, okay, I've got the guys I wanted in the first place. What do they want? And I think that's often where it goes wrong. Also with the editing. So they'll shoot this thing, it'll be brilliant, and then they'll send it off to a regular movie editor who will shoot it very fragmentedly, if that's a word, instead of just saying, get the stunt guys to edit it as well. So they'll pick the best, the longest shots, the continuous shots, and you'll get a really nice vibe. Often Hollywood, I think, you see it, and it's very, the action's very disjointed as they shoot every angle and then put it all together. So yeah, trusting the stunt guys you pick your guys you want, and then trust that they can deliver the best for you.
Yeah, and you often see now in those Marvel movies, the stunt guys have already shot it themselves while they're practicing, and then you see the final version. It's very similar to that because they know how that stuff translates really well on screen. And just to finish up, last question is, and this might be difficult for you to answer because obviously you've got a niche and people must know you as a certain body type, and we can get him for that. He's perfect for this. Say I'm a new stunt performer, I've got all my qualifications. Where do I get work? How do I get my work? Do I need to befriend stunt coordinators? What do I do?
So so the thing about becoming a part of the British Stunt Register is that you then you're privy to the contacts. So anyone could email a stunt coordinator and say, hello, I'd like to be in stunts. This is my show reel. And that might work for you if you're world class at something, but being part of the British Stunt Register, which the stunt coordinators are a part of, that they qualified for, they worked for decades. You say, hello, my name's Adam. I just became part of the UK Stunt Register. Here's my stunt page. If anything comes up, please let me know. Also, they then have, sometimes some stunt coordinators will do what do they call it? It'll be a help out day. So you can come out, you can observe the stunts, you can get to meet the team, you can help clean mats, drag things around, bring people cups of tea, see how it actually works on the day, the whole production works. So the British Stunt Register does that for the new people that get onto the Stunt Register. So yeah, that's really it. It's a nice little system for that.
Thanks for listening. If you want all the behind the scenes information that's going to help you with a career in a creative industry, then please do subscribe.